Let's move on to East Africa, where the region is positioning itself for a growth trajectory. In the new year, 2024, despite the challenges of sovereign debt, regional conflict, among other headwinds. Agnes Gitau is the executive director at the London-based Eastern African Association and the managing partner at GBS Africa. Gitau joins me live now on the show. It's nice seeing you in the new year, madam.
Happy New Year, Boston.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you. I just read your interesting and loaded article, well researched, that you wrote a few days ago on what you think the outlook is for 2024 for Eastern Africa. That's why we're bringing you on the show for the first time in the new year. Let's talk to this a little bit, shall we? Now, give me a brief review of the East African region last year and what the key headwinds were for some of those leading economies such as Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and of course, Ethiopia.
Thank you, Boston. East Africa navigated a complex economic terrain shaped by geopolitical shifts, climate change challenges, and fiscal realities. I want to draw attention to that report you highlighted, which we spent the whole of Christmas holiday working on. Kenya is a good example where the economic narrative was overshadowed by the debt to GDP ratio, which is nearing about 70%. This debt, compounded by concerns over fiscal mismanagement, issues of corruption, not only strained the national budget, but also eroded investor confidence. Another country to think about is Ethiopia. Ethiopia, you're aware, unfortunately, despite the IMF program under the GSSI and the Common Framework, failed to honor its Eurobond repayment in December, joining Zambia and Ghana as another African country to default. Another headache was managing inflation, currency devaluation, and this is exemplified in Kenya, where the shilling depreciated by over 60% against the US dollar. So 2023, as we come to 2024, is a sigh of relief for most of our country, really looking back and hoping that the challenges of yesteryear will not impact development in 2024. But look, we are leading the region in terms of GDP growth, but we can have a conversation around that.
Are you seeing some progress in the region despite all of that? And what's the prognosis for the East African corridor in the new year? Are you seeing some green shoots, as it were? If you look at countries such as Tanzania today, President, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu sacked the Minister of Petroleum and Gas just a week ago. She also scrapped the entire board of the country's electricity. She's asking for serious economic. Everyone sit tight. Do you think some progress has been made in the region?
Yes, Boston. The region is expected to grow at around 6.3 to 6.5% in 2024. Incredible countries like Tanzania, under the leadership of President Samia Hussein, her focus on infrastructure development. You know of the East African oil pipeline that is it's run by both Uganda and Tanzania, and this was about $5.5 billion. Look, there is incredible investment in infrastructure, and I think that is what's going to lead the growth in both Tanzania and Uganda, whose growth is projected to be about 6.8%. Other countries where there's a glimmer of hope is Somalia. Somalia, you're aware, joined the East Africa community in December. The same month, the World Bank cancelled Somalia's debt of about $4.5 billion. The same month, the United Nations Security Council lifted the arms embargo that has been in place for about 10 years. So there is some glimmer of hope, but despite all this, there are some political headwinds that we need to navigate. Earlier this beginning of the year, we've seen development between Ethiopia and Somaliland, which has caused a diplomatic spat between Ethiopia and Somalia. So there are some success stories. However, the storm is not over, despite this incredible projection of 6.5 economic growth.
Interesting. When you look at Somalia and DRC, these two countries seem to be hitting the right buttons. President Tshisekedi just won a second term in office, another 5 years. The IMF gave Somalia a good deal late last year. Are you bullish on these smaller economies compared to Kenya, for example? President William Ruto had the visit of the European president just before Christmas or so. So do you think there's a pressure on the big boys, Museveni's Uganda, Samia Suluhu of Tanzania, Kenya under Ruto, from these smaller countries such as Somalia to the north of Africa, Horn of Africa, as well as DRC down there in Central Africa, joining the EAC?
Look, the region, by DRC and Somalia joining the Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan to form the East African community, I think that's incredible news for the region. It will create more opportunities for trade, integration. It will create opportunities for movement and goods and services, right? And open up opportunities for businesses in these countries. But you're absolutely right. Somalia, after so many years of war and destruction, after so many years facing the challenges of climate change, right? We're seeing some movement, we're seeing some development in terms of political stability. DRC, they've just had the election at the end of December. Unfortunately, that election has been disputed. Election results have been disputed. But these smaller economies who are known to us, who are famously known because of their instability, are rebuilding. And I think it is good for the region. A stable DRC means a stable East African region, and it can only benefit the entire community and members of the East African community. But you're right, Kenya can no longer stay put and assume that economic giant title that is always been associated with. So other countries are rising up and working hard.
You've got to work very hard. I'm not too sure how much time you have to write such an article as you just did a few days ago. But I'm going to ask you very quickly, give me 30 seconds. What's your agenda? What's your agenda and calendar at the Eastern African Association for this year, Agnes?
Thank you for asking, Boston. But our agenda really is to really continue with this conversation, understanding what the industries are looking out for, and also trying to work closely with the government to try and unlock opportunities for private sector financing and investment into our region. But so we're looking to host our East African Outlook, where we're going to analyze this report with our members later at the end of the month. And again, in April, we look forward to hosting our members for our 60th anniversary here in London and also in Nairobi. But it's going to be a very busy year for us, Boston, and the conversation is just around how do we work and support investment in the region.
I guess I'm invited. I'm going to be sitting down with you folks, whether in London or in Nairobi. But if you ask me, you know what my choice will be between Nairobi and London. I'm sure you know it's going to be Nairobi. Yeah, I love it when I go to the safari. Thank you so much, Agnes Gitau, Managing Partner at GBS Africa and Executive Director at Eastern Africa Association.